What is up, Finesse family? Hopefully, you guys are having a great day today. I'm excited about today's topic, guys. We're going to get into how to deal with toxic people, toxic workplace, toxic environment, and we have a special guest with us today to have this discussion. So get ready, guys. Get yourself situated at home, relax. Get ready to get informed and inspired today, because we're going to have this conversation. I know normally everybody has had the situation where they've had to deal with a toxic workplace environment, right? So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to get into detail about what this looks like, how you can deal with this situation and or get yourself out of it, right? So once again, how to deal with toxic people. We have a guest here. I'm going to bring them up. So let's get started. Oh, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Hola, como esta? Bonjour. Hopefully you're having a great day today. If you did not know, my name is Mrs. B. Finesse of millennialfinessemindset.com. And here we have all kind of conversations to help get our mindset steady on what we need to do for improvement and understanding. All right, so we're the Finesse family here, and that stands for faithfully innovate, to inspire, to be naturally effective, and to seek success every day. Here we go. All right, guys, so let's get started. Let's see. All right, guys, so we're back and we have our guest. We have Krystal here, and she's here to help us have this discussion. So Krystal, how are you doing today?
Little under the weather, but not too shabby. This is kind of glum weather right now, but this is the perfect napping weather. So,
yes, it definitely is the perfect napping weather when it is looking like it's about to rain and it's dark. Yes. So I have you here. I'm super excited about this topic. I definitely want to get into it. And this is something that literally transfers through everybody. I would say 20 or older, especially if you've worked or had a job, dealing with these issues and literally having this to experience, and you know how we manage around it, how we can even in these situations triumph. That's kind of what I want to really discuss in this conversation, because it's just inevitable. We're going to deal with these toxic situations, toxic family members, toxic coworkers. We're going to deal with these things, but you know, I definitely want to bring to light different ways that once we have the conversation, how we can, you know, move forward as far as understanding with it. All right. So once again, let me make sure I acknowledge a couple things, guys. The last stream, you guys know what something that I'm doing new is giving recognition to the top chatter. So on the last stream, Princessa, she was the top chatter in the stream, which means inside the live she was typing the most responses. So shout out to her. Shout out to you, Princessa. Also, guys, shout out to all the Finesse fam and those that supported the last stream that super chatted, which was BGH and Big Ben. And thank you guys for all your support as always. It's much appreciated. So, Krystal, let's get into this. All right. I want to definitely talk about your experience in the workplace. I know you are public servant. You work in the nursing field, and I definitely want to talk about what do you experience as far as how are they willing to work? Or is there a certain group that you feel like is not willing to work? Do you notice it's just throughout all people, all age groups? What is your experience as far as dealing with the toxic work culture?
Well, especially in nursing, I'm noticing a lot of our baby boomers are on their, they're nearing retirement age, and then you've got a lot of the young nurses coming into the nursing field. The problem is, I noticed there's a giant generation gap as far as their like work ethic and respect towards each other. I mean, personally, I'm noticing a lot of the youngsters don't really, I don't know, their work ethic just isn't what it used to be. Whereas some of the older nurses are kind of relying on the younger ones to kind of step up to the plate. And I mean, there's a gap in, especially with technology advancing the way it is. It's a little bit harder for some of the older nurses to catch up and the younger. So it's like there's just kind of gap, and it just seems like the respect going both ways isn't there, which is difficult because I'm in management. So I have to kind of, I guess, put out fires quite often between people. But, the purpose of us being there is to take care of these patients and to maintain their safety. And it's like, how do we do that if we're griping at each other, yelling at each other, arguing, bickering back and forth? Like, there's a reason why I didn't go into middle school education. Like, I don't want to have to,
the ideal of being like high school. So would you akin it to that? Your work environment it's kind of feels like that.
Very much like high school. You don't see it as much, with people that work closely with people in their same age range. You don't really see it as much. It's when you've got the younger ones working with the older ones that there's definitely a clash there.
Interesting. So as far as you're saying, you're finding that it's a certain, I guess, age group or demographic of people that you're noticing this with. Which age range or which generation of people do you notice is the most?
Honestly, the younger ones. I feel like we've kind of, I guess I would say I'm kind of what they call an elder millennial. So I'm kind of on the cusp and right in between it all. I'm kind of noticing it from Generation X, Z, Y. I don't really even know anymore. But the youngsters, the people who are in the 18 to 25 age range, I'm noticing their work ethic just isn't the same as what I was taught growing up. We're taught to work hard for what we want and work hard for our livelihood. I feel like we're, spoiling our younger generation into thinking they can just have whatever they want without working for it, which doesn't translate well when you're trying to run a business or work in a hospital or work in any kind of, especially public service. Our job is to take care of these patients. Our job is to take care of these customers and consumers. And how are we going to do that if we're bickering back and forth?
So my question to you is, do
people like?
No, go ahead.
And I was gonna say, it just kind of ties into like people that are bringing their work life or their home life to work and vice versa, and it's just, having to explain to people they got to leave that stuff at home, or, I don't know. You'll have people who end up like, oh, I'm offended by this person because of the way they said this to me, or I'm offended by this, and I'm like, oh, it's just a constant struggle to connect on that level, because I guess personally, I don't let my personal feelings about others affect my work ethic, and it shouldn't. Like, no matter how you feel about each other, you should be able to work together to reach your common goals at the end of the day.
True. So my question is, coming into the healthcare environment, are there certain trainings or is there anything that you know of that preps this younger generation of kids to be ready, or is it just the actual experience of working with the people in the hospital and the patients in the hospital? Do you guys actually, is there like a training that shows them how to interact, or do you guys is it just expected from your experience?
I mean, I guess being an adult, I would expect people to always work in a professional manner, but I'm noticing sometimes you've got to have pep talks and conversations with upper management to explain your expectations with people, which, I don't think there's a problem with that, but it's like we're wasting resources and precious time telling an adult how they should treat each other. But yeah, a lot of pep talks, a lot of meetings between management, nurses, techs, no matter your position. We always try to have meetings on any issues. I'm also noticing, especially even when management is not involved, just having people in different positions talk to each other about, some of the things that they struggle with in their position and vice versa. So there can be more of an understanding instead of that divide all the time. Like, I think it's a good idea for people to just have conversation instead of like talking behind people's backs, having to, tattle on people, just saying, oh, well, this is what they said. This is what let's have conversations. Let's be adults about it. So.
Mm-hmm. And this is one thing, my best friend let me know this eons ago. She was like, you can't assume that everybody was either raised the same way or that they know better, because once we assume those things, the expectation level, it just kind of gets degraded. And what I mean in that is that they should know those things. Those are just kind of like personality traits. Those are ethic traits. Those are just natural. Makes sense. But common sense is not common. That's a catchphrase I love. Common sense is not common. And I mean, I know as far as, working with young adults and teenagers, and that generation gap is very, very existent. I know, at least with me, having some type of connection with them and then talking to them, I like you as far as like doing a leadership role, or even, being over groups of educators and things of that nature. You got to find kind of like this commonality. So I know even with them, finding something that's common, like they think they're the first generation to like shoes and like certain specific type of things. A little did they know, generations before, they were the ones that spearheaded the different things that you guys like. So just finding little connections with them, even though sometimes it can get to a level where it's like super annoying, because it's like, why do I have to give? But there's a gap somewhere where that happens. So a lot of times, like I said, people get very frustrated with the younger generation, but there is a reason they're that way. Somebody had to be raising them or giving them too much, or not enough of something in suffice of giving them too much. And it just takes it's annoying. But it takes some time, because they can be corrected and redirected. So with that being said, my question I have is, as far as the problems that you're seeing, you specifically think it's generational in the workplace, and can you kind of give us examples of kind of what you see so people can kind of relate to that?
It's definitely like, I'm not a professional in that sense, but it's just my observations, especially from the outside looking in and having to kind of spearhead some of these interventions between people. It definitely takes a lot of patience on my part and their part to try and understand somebody that on many levels they can't understand. This generation is completely different than what you or myself are probably used to, as far as technology, as far as everything's on social media now. Everything is so much more public. Like, we don't even the way that we address each other now, I think there's a lot of times there's things that people will say to each other on social media and say to each other in chat rooms and things like that they won't say to each other like in their face. Like, we've gotten so used to kind of hiding behind something that nobody wants to actually have the difficult conversations and have the patience to actually communicate and talk to each other. Nobody does that anymore. We're in such a text driven and message driven, and I'll just get the point across this way, and nobody wants to sit down and have the conversation. So when I have had to kind of intervene with two workers, especially, I'm like, let's talk this out. Like, you share your side of the story, you share your side of the story. Let's talk this out. Let's not we don't start rumors. We don't talk about each other behind our back. Let's figure this out. Let's figure out how to work together. It's gotten to the point where some people are like, I don't want to work this person. I don't want to work with that person. Like, we're not doing that. Like, we're literally all adults. Like, nobody at my job is a child. Yeah, it's just a lot of uncomfortable conversations on some part. And then as far as examples of some of the ways that has played out, I guess, I noticed that a lot of, especially nurses, will expect their techs or CNAs or things like that to do things for them, but they kind of treat them like almost their servants, really, instead of their cohorts and compadres. They're not treating them that way. They're kind of treating them like a young child instead, which translates into a very toxic work environment. So we're just trying to teach them to respect each other, regardless of your age, regardless of your position, regardless of where you've come from in life. You've got to respect each other.
So my question, from your perspective, being the supervisor, the manager over the group or floor of nurses and attendants that work there, do you believe it is a personal vendetta that they have with the people they work with, or do you believe it's something that they're bringing from home, or something that went on before that? Is it really butting heads because they have issues with each other, or do you think it's just they're just bringing things from other places and they're not being able to control their emotions at work? What's your perspective of that?
I think it could be, honestly, a little bit of both. Because outside of work, I don't think these people have anything to do with each other. I don't think there's really any personal vendettas or anything like that. But, especially when you have people that are pretty much set in their ways, their personalities are pretty much, that's just who they are. It's harder to redirect them. It's harder to make them understand someone else's perspective, because they're like, well, this is just the way I do things. This is the way I've always done things. And then there is the element of taking your home life and bringing it to work, and vice versa. I tell everybody every day, like, we're going to have a good shift. Like, we're going to have a great day. Anything we've got going on at home or outside of work, we're going to leave that where it is. And I mean, it's not to say that I'm not one of those supportive people that you can't talk to me about what's going on at home. But that's where that patience also comes in, because you never know what people are going through. The same way I tell people to put yourself in patient's shoes when they're in pain, or when they're frustrated or they're aggravated. The same goes for somebody maybe having a bad day at work. You have no idea why. But you try to be patient with them. You try to understand, guess what? We're all people. We're not just our jobs at work. We're not just our positions. Like, we're humans. We have emotions. We have things going on outside the workplace, that it's not always easy to just turn that off. So it's just a lot of patience and understanding.
Okay. So the generational problems in the workplace, I know, as far as like giving understanding for it too, I kind of want to break that down with you, since, like I said, you're seeing it face on. And those of you listening on the restream, those of you listening now during the stream, if there's a specific situation that you want to talk about or relate to this, so everybody can understand, like, the toxicness is very strong in different elements of careers. Some careers, it might be lighter, or it might be maybe more passive aggressive than other careers. I know today we're talking about the health field and what that looks like, and how it's super important that they just all get along. Just like, right, really in education, the whole ideal of this dichotomy between the administrators and then the instructors, and somebody wanting to be in control, and I want to be the boss. Yeah. I hear from you, Krystal, that it's different. You steward the people under you, the floor team that's under you. You're more so not trying to just say, shut up and do it. You're trying to bring the issues to a head. What about that method do you feel works and what doesn't work? Because I definitely want to hear your perspective of it, because most people will come with the iron fist. Like we see this all the time at fast food places or even retail, I'm sorry. People will get these managerial positions and they think they're czars or the gods of the galaxy. So what's your mindset behind that?
I'm definitely not in a position of like hiring and firing or any kind of authority figure in that way. I think when people kind of like bash with the iron fist and they're like, this is the way it's going to be, and this is the way you approach people, they respect you in a different way. Like I've always tried to approach people with patience, and I try to take emotion out of that. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on. Like you keep personal emotions out of that, especially in a leadership position. If you bring your personal your own personal vendetta or your own bad attitudes towards something, it's not going to help. It's not going to make it better. If anything, you're bringing more drama and problems into the situation. So I find it more effective to just listen to both sides, try to come up with a compromise, an agreement or something. And if that obviously doesn't work, there's upper administration and things like that. I try not to bring that into it, especially because personally, I feel like a lot of the upper administration, especially in healthcare, I don't think they can really connect on that level because I feel like their priorities may be in a different place. They've got to deal with the numbers and business side of everything, whereas I'm here to advocate for patient care and advocate for healthcare workers and making sure that their environment is safe and their environment is comfortable as can be. So yeah, we just try to keep any kind of issues that we have on a more personal level and try to just kind of solve that without having to involve anybody else. And it seems to work pretty well. It's a lot easier to resolve issues that we do have when people can be patient with each other and actually work together and actually understand, maybe I shouldn't speak to somebody this way, or, and people make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Nobody's going to have a great day all the time. And you have to understand that.
Right.
But yeah. Just trying to keep it all together.
Right. And I definitely want always to show the different sides of things, because I think a lot of times people get so caught up on either the black or the white of it. Okay, I'm the manager, I'm the supervisor, listen to me with an iron fist. Or, I'm the worker, woe is me, you don't treat me right. And we definitely have to see all perspectives. I know just from my experience in education, seeing all sides of it, working from K through 12 and working at college level, collegiate level, and being a parent and then seeing the educator side, I can understand all of it now because I've been in all walks of it. And I think a lot of people are so juxtapositioned to what they've either heard or what experience they have, and they stay on that and they don't get understanding. So I think that's super important that we're showing all sides of this, especially with healthcare, because healthcare is super important, because at all points in life, we've all at least once had to be in a situation where we had to go to a doctor, go to the ER, emergency room for some reason, So I think it relates to all of us. Now, this is something that I had seen, Krystal, that was just kind of, I'm not shocked about it, but I definitely want to hear your perspective because you work in the healthcare field. I have it up, so I'm going to bring it up for you. Let me get this up, see if we can both be on the screen. Okay, so here it is. It says, this is in BBC News, right? And it says the publisher apologizes for this text in the medical book. So I want to know, have you seen this, and can you kind of speak on the dichotomy of different cultures and healthcare, because I've been hearing a lot of stories about different races of people, but specifically African American, aka Black people, and healthcare and how people are getting mistreated and different cultures are getting mistreated. And this is just very interesting. So I definitely want to hear your perspective on this one here.
I can't see exactly what it says.
Hold on, I'll make it full.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
the text actually looks familiar.
it says focus on diversity and culture, cultural differences in response to pain.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
So
yes,
it says Arabs, Muslims, Asians, Jews, Hispanics, Native Americans, and then blacks. But that one's kind of cut off. But that I remember seeing it actually. So
I think I remember. I remember us discussing this probably while I was in nursing school. I think a lot of that comes from stereotypes that I think medical professionals have noticed. I think one of the biggest issues we have, especially with pain management, is how people are viewed. So, you'll have, I know I've personally been in a situation where I've come to the hospital, I have severe back pain, and all they assume is she wants pain meds, she wants pain meds, she wants pain meds. And I'm like, I actually want you to figure out why I'm having this pain so I can fix it. I'm not here for that. But you have so many people that may possibly fit that stereotype that all they're there for is drugs and pain medication, that people aren't treated the way they should be when it comes to that. Pain is subjective. So I can't sit here and tell you right now you're not in pain. You can't I can be having a perfectly normal conversation with you and be in excruciating pain. So I know I've read articles, especially when it comes to African Americans, and how they're viewed as far as their I would say like medical professionals may have just kind of a view that maybe African Americans aren't as in much pain as they say they are. They're just here to get medication and stuff like that. I've even been in a situation, I was in nursing school, I believe, and we were doing our rotations in a mother-baby unit, and this woman had literally just given birth that day. She had had a C-section. She's in a lot of pain. She's literally in a fetal position on the bathroom floor. And so I'm in there with the nurse, kind of in a more observant role because I'm not a nurse yet. And she's like, oh, well, I gave you morphine, so you should feel better soon. And she just walked out of the room. And I was furious. I'm just like, this woman has literally had a child surgically removed from her body. She is in severe pain, clearly. She's on the floor crying. So I helped her up and got her back into bed and like tried to just talk to her and help her deep breathe and stuff like that. But even the mom was just like, she was talking about how mean the nurse was to her. And I'm like, we're here to take care of these people. Like, it doesn't matter what you think you've done as a professional. This person is clearly in a lot of pain. Yes, there may be avenues or maybe things that you can or can't do based on doctor's orders and things like that. And yes, you may have just given her the medication to make her feel better. But I'm like, leaving her on the floor was not the move she should have made. I'm like, these are people that you need to care for. So that was one of the things that made me, I guess, more aware of how to treat people, especially in such a vulnerable position. So that was really hard to see and witness. But like I said, it definitely it made me more aware of some things that I wanted to watch out for and some of the things that I didn't want to do as a nurse, and in ways I wanted to grow as a person. So that definitely helped.
Yeah, transformative, cool. So you're kind of on the cusp of the next question I have, because this is a big kind of buzzword that's been going around and a big topic in healthcare, especially dealing with African Americans. This ideal that African American women are passing more in childbirth. What is your experience as far as what you see either on the outside or just maybe on the field in nursing? Is that a dichotomy that you noticed and seen? Is that a truth, yes or no, from your experience?
So I don't have a lot of experience in labor and delivery, mother baby, and things like that. I've had a few shifts here and there. There was a story, I can't remember their names, I know this was a few years ago, about a woman. She was African American. She had just given birth, and she was having, I don't remember if she was having trouble breathing or she was in a lot of pain. But I guess the doctor ordered a CT, like a stat CT, stat meaning like as soon as humanly possible, like it needs to be done immediately. Due to the fact that I want to say that she had either gone septic or her vitals were tanking, like she wasn't doing well, and nobody was listening to her. Nobody was listening to her husband. She kept, they kept asking, when are we going to have the CT? When are we going to have the CT? They kept pushing it back. I want to say that this CT had been literally pushed back for hours and hours and hours. When they finally, I want to say she may have given birth like in the morning or something. By the time they got her down to the CT scanner, this was probably around midnight. So this was hours and hours and hours after she had even given birth. And they noticed she had blood all in her abdomen, and they brought her into emergency surgery to try and fix the situation. But I think by that time she had lost like 3 liters of blood and she didn't make it. And so I want to say the husband has been working with legislation to make sure this doesn't happen again. But from my experience or my research, like African American women, their mortality rate is a lot higher in childbirth, and that's not normal. And the argument is that Black women aren't being listened to. They're not being heard. They're not being taken seriously. I want to say it was either Venus or Serena Williams, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was Serena.
Yeah, Serena, that had her baby, and I can't remember medically what happened to her, but again, it was a case of not being listened to, not being heard, not being respected, honestly, in that way. And that needs to change, because I'm a Black woman who would love to, have a child, and just the fact that disparity is even a thing is kind of scary.
Yeah, and when you think about it, the whole aspect of that's the most natural thing to do. Your body, the machine that is your body, naturally does it. You really don't need any type of instruments or anything, as long as you're healthy and all things together. And that's like one of the main things. It's kind of very, very troubling when you think about it. And it's leading back to the aspect of when they're saying that they're feeling uncomfortable or feeling in pain, that they're not getting that treatment that they need.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Okay, so I have another question. I definitely want to know, because we've talked to you before, Nurse Krystal. We've talked to you before. I think it was earlier this year, I think it's earlier this year, late last year. We talked to you, and I know when you came in, we were talking about what it looked like in nursing as far as the workload, how you guys are being treated, how society looks upon you guys as far as how much you're needed from pre-pandemic until now. Is there a shift or change at all that you see, or is it the same, or has the culture worsened as far as the medical field and how healthcare workers are treated from your perspective?
Truthfully, it's much worse. I know during the pandemic, especially, they call us essential workers and healthcare workers and healthcare heroes and things like that. But one of the things I noticed during the pandemic is a lot of people were either quitting or getting fired or being let go because, yes, we needed nurses in a lot of areas, but in others, like elective surgeries and places like that were closed down, people were losing their jobs and things like that. And now people are so burnt out from nursing, they don't want to do it anymore. So we're losing nurses every day because it's exhausting. We're tired. I would say the patient load is a lot more dangerous than it used to be. I know personally I do med-surg nursing, so your patient ratio, you're only supposed to have maybe like 4 or 5 patients per one nurse. I think I've had literally up to 10 at one point, which is not only a threat to my nursing license, but it's not safe for these patients. You'll have somebody who, like me, I may have an infection of some sort. I need like IV antibiotics or something like that. So, but I'm able to walk and do things for myself and take care of myself. I'd be the patient that's honestly neglected because you've got somebody else over there whose kidneys are failing, or they're not doing well, or their oxygen is dipping, and they need a higher level of care. It's like, how much of a disservice am I giving to my patients because I can't properly take care of them? And it's honestly scary, just how much of a workload they're asking us to take on. So when people are like, you're a healthcare hero, and I don't know, it just feels fake. It feels like I don't want you to call me a healthcare worker. I don't want you to call me a healthcare hero. I want to be fairly compensated. I want my patient load to be safer for me and for them.
Right.
So
I mean,
having,
and really when you think about it too, like I think a lot of times, and I say this a lot on my streams, people get so caught up in being so quick to give their opinion about something, and their perspective, they never are looking at things hindsight, or they're never trying to see it hindsight or see it from another perspective. And and I'm not just saying this because I'm an educator, but I mean, I didn't know I didn't know it in retrospect till I actually did it. Start, working in education. I was a parent, but I didn't know it from that perspective. And it's so easy for people to say, like, you're getting paid more than this person, or you chose that position, or whatever the saying is. But the whole stress of the work culture, if it's toxic. So not just the individual people, but the culture of the job, in itself, the toxicness of it. Being able to, at the same time, helping somebody, trying to get them back on their feet, that's sick, that's downtrodden, that's maybe even prepping for a surgery, and then your mental health and the toxicness of the work environment, the workload, all those things can take a toll on a person. Can you kind of speak on that so people that don't know as far as healthcare, they can get an understanding that, or how well are you dealing with that balance, or how do you do it? Because that might help somebody in the future listening to the stream, or just somebody now in another field. How do you balance all that?
I think taking care of your mental health and physical health is honestly your top priority when, especially working in healthcare. I know the way that some people may deal with stress is not healthy. A lot of nurses joke, we tell our patients, stop drinking so much alcohol, you're going to destroy your liver. And then you go right to the bar after you get off of work. There's always, I don't know, there's this, there's like a stigma around mental health that people don't want to talk about. And I think it's very important to address your mental health and your physical health, because at the end of the day, I can't help you if I'm sick and not taking care of myself. So I think finding a hobby, finding things that make you happy, taking your days off. Like, I always tell people, if I'm asking you to come into work because we're short staffed, you don't have to give me any excuses as to why you say no or anything. Just tell me no. take your day off. If it doesn't benefit you financially and doesn't help you financially at all, or if it's not a good time for you, you don't have to tell me yes or no. Just, we'll see you another time. I tell people actually take their days off, enjoy their days off, go find a hobby, do something that makes them happy. I like going to SeaWorld. I like sitting in a hot tub. I like reading a book. I like sitting in my hammock, taking a walk, whatever it is that can help me de-stress and declutter my brain, especially having to work as hard as I do while I'm there. It's just, I like to do whatever I can to make myself less stressed. And then taking care of myself physically. I think it's very important nursing, and many jobs in general are very physically demanding. So I think it's really important to keep a good nutrition regimen going on, keep a good exercise regimen going on. Exercise is, to me, very good stress relief as well. So me and my coworkers kind of hold each other accountable with that. I think it definitely just taking care of that mental and physical aspect, and emotional, spiritual. Some people may not be spiritual, some people are. I tell people, if they're having a bad day, you're having a hard day, go take a walk, go get some vitamin D, go get some sun, just to kind of step away and take a moment for themselves, because yeah, you have things to do, but we're all here to help each other. And one of the ways that you help me help you is to take care of you. And I'm sure that's the same. Even in teaching, in any profession, you've got to take care of yourself. Or how are you going to take care of other people? So.
Yeah, it's very true. And that's the mental health aspect of it is so important, because it permeates through like everything we do. The mental health, even starting off as being an adolescent, that the mental side of being told who you are, being encouraged, focusing on the things that you're doing well instead of the things that you're not doing well, seeing people that look like you, seeing somebody that represents you to make you aspire to be or do better. And I think the same thing happens as adults. We need the same thing. We need to see the aspiration of it. We need to have a mentor, have somebody either in your circle that is close that can help pull you to the next level of what you need to do, and having that awareness. And yet mental health is so second guessed and not talked about, and it's so key, because if your mind isn't where it needs to be as far as like the health of your mind, which is like, just like you said, maybe meditating or taking time out to do something you love doing, or being around people you love, or just saying, I'm gonna stop, like just stop for a second, don't think, don't talk, don't do anything, just be quiet for a second. It's imperative. As far as you and your journey with that, do you feel like you're better as far as when you started in healthcare to now? Do you feel like you just kind of maintaining, or have you just learned things along the way from other maybe coworkers or supervisors? What's your perception of that?
I think I've definitely just learned more along the way. I think I've said it before, like nursing is not for the faint of heart, and it's not for everybody. I know when I first started, it was pre-pandemic, so things were a lot different. Conversations were a lot different. I would say even mental health was a lot different. So this pandemic definitely changed the mental health of a lot of people and how they reacted to their mental health and how they were able to cope. But it was definitely one of those things where you just kind of had to learn as you go along. And then having the right support system, the right family system, the right friends. And I know a lot of organizations have mental health counselors for their employees, just to make sure that they're okay.
That's true.
Like I said, I can't help you if I'm not at my best. And nobody's going to be at their best all of the time, but having the right resources to go to and the right places to turn is helpful. So I can definitely say I've had the support whether it's through relationships, friendships, family, coworkers. It's also helpful to have people who really and truly understand what you're going through. So, I definitely connect well with people in healthcare, law enforcement, teaching, things like that, especially people who were really, really, really affected by this pandemic and kind of like what it did to our mental health. It's definitely good to have people that understand what you're going through and to talk about it with you. So that's definitely been very helpful.
I know what I've seen a lot, and I wasn't really shocked by it, but it was, to me, I'm seeing it happen way more often than before. I believe this is my perspective on the outside looking in, but just knowing a lot of nurses, and just kind of my synopsis from just looking at it, I think a lot, and you can add onto this if you agree or disagree. I definitely want to hear your opinion. I think a lot of nurses were really burnt out, or healthcare workers were burnt out pre-pandemic and in the inception of the pandemic. But their hearts, they wanted so bad to be there and help. I mean, because I'm thinking about all these nurses that were around in these C-19 wards and C-19 floors, and they literally went home to families with kids and children and husbands, and they're going back to work every day, exposing them. And so the mindset of that person has to be so much that they will put somebody else over themselves. And this is my perspective, but I want you to definitely speak on this. I think that whole year, the nurses and the healthcare workers, even teachers, I know a lot of educators is just burnt out. Like literally, some of them would start teaching like the beginning of the year, in a month they would just quit, just because like it's just too much. The expectation was just too high. They didn't know the reality of what you have to deal with. Your mental has to be on point. And I just see this exodus in the last 6 months. Exodus of just nurses burnt out. They just leaving in droves. I would definitely want to know your perspective of that, and what you feel about what I just said as far as that burnout level and why it's so rampant now compared to pre-pandemic.
Well, I know during the pandemic, especially, a lot of organizations were doing like hazard pay and things like that to protect their code. They're like, well, if you're going to go on the front lines and expose yourself to this, at least we're going to pay you more. So, I mean, some people kind of reap the benefits of that financial rewards, I guess, but I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like I said, nursing isn't for everyone. It is one of the most selfless professions you can go into. Like, if you're in this for your own personal gain, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Like, I'm here to help people. My goal is to help these people heal. Like, nothing brings me greater joy than seeing somebody who's sick and seeing them go home feeling so much better because of the care we've been able to give them. And I know when I started during the pandemic, I was actually working primarily in pediatrics. So that was even a completely different patient population to worry about. You've got, families who are scared, they're in the hospital, but then again, they can't be there because the visitation was so strict in the hospital during that time that, families are separated. They can't see each other. They're not allowed to leave because they don't want to bring this home to their kids. Like, we're all showering at work, trying not to bring all that stuff home with us. My roommate and I would literally strip our clothes in the garage, like streak through the house naked and go straight to the shower because we're trying not to, get each other sick. Because, we're trying our best to do what we have to do while also helping people understand. Like, we've got our own families and own friends and people we're not trying to get exposed to it. And the crazy thing about the pandemic is it almost like kind of shoved aside all of the other illnesses that you could possibly get. So it definitely, the burnout got to it definitely, I want to say, is still going on. Because even though things have improved, it's still like, I think people have got PTSD. People are just exhausted. Um, I've dealt with situations and seen people, pass from, I mean, not only from like the pandemic, but from other things. It's been exhausting. So that's why in order for me to be able to thrive, I've had to find things that give me joy and find ways to unwind when I'm not at work. It definitely helps.
Yeah, that's super. You have to do that, and I push that a lot on this channel. You have to have a downtime, and I'm definitely going to go over. There's like a series that I have in mind as far as like the hustle culture and the grind, grind to what end. Because I think a lot of times people get so caught up in the grind goal or whatever that they lose the mental health part of it. They lose the aspect of are you doing this to no avail? Where is the end point in it? There needs to be an end. It can't be something. It's not sustainable to continue it over and over and over. It's not. As humans, we can't. Some people do it and they run themselves to the ground, and a lot of times they'll delete themselves, or they'll put themselves in habits and behaviors where they'll destroy their families, they'll destroy their friends and people around them, because they have this mentality to keep going and going and going and not really just enjoy life. I would hate the aspect of having a house, but I'm working so much I can't even enjoy my house. I don't want a car, and I work so much I can't even use a car. And then even more so have a family, but you're working so much you can't enjoy it. So I definitely don't want to. I want to appreciate that you came. I don't want to, take up a lot of time, because I know it's your off day and you're trying to, rest and relax. I really appreciate you came up, but I want to give you this time, Nurse Krystal, to just speak on a call to action. We do that on my streams a lot. I always like to bring things to a head after we have discussions. We talk and get understanding. But I definitely want to hear your call to action as somebody in healthcare, and the ideal of this toxic work environment with people, work, and even we can see that with family and friends. Can you just kind of speak to the future listeners and those that will come back on the stream and those even here to what are some methods that you think will best suit them, and how you feel as far as healthcare, what just needs to be said in your opinion for healthcare, so people can have understanding, and you'll have the floor.
Oh, okay. Like I said, always make sure your mental health and your physical health are a priority. Whether you're dealing with work, life, no matter what field you're in, it is definitely important for you to find avenues to keep yourself sane, keep yourself, just trying to keep yourself together. Find things that make you happy. I got a cat. He's soft. He makes me happy. Go take a walk. I don't know. Find a book series you'd like to read, a TV show, something that keeps your. And also don't be afraid to talk about the fact that you're struggling with something mentally or struggling with something physically. Like, don't be afraid to seek assistance and seek the help that you need if it's something that hanging out with a cat is not going to help you with. When you have your off days, take that time for yourself. If you've got children and you've got people that are willing to help you with your kids, take that opportunity to get some time for yourself, because no matter what you are in life, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a parent, whether you're a politician, whether you're a teacher, doesn't matter. You're still a person. You're still a whole person that has to take care of yourself. You can't take care of other people if you're not taking care of yourself. As far as if you're in nursing, understand that at the end of the day, like, you're needed in this position. So make sure you're working for an organization that respects you, respects your time, respects your pockets. Don't settle for something just because you think you can't make a change. There's so many opportunities out there, especially in nursing, to help you, to help your family. If you're somewhere that doesn't value your mental health and doesn't care about you, there's so many organizations out there that will. And again, no matter what field you're in, take care of you. Like that's, and then take care of take care of the people you love. Do what you can to help them. Do what you can to help yourself. And like I said, don't be afraid to like speak up if you are struggling.
I think that last point is so key, and I'm going to keep reiterating that. I'm going to try to say that in every stream and every time I get a chance. I think the biggest issue with the mental health part of it is the secrecy of it, is a silence of, I don't want anybody to know, I don't want to feel some type of way, nobody's going through what I'm going through. And if you just open your mouth, you'll really find that most people are going through the same things you are. It's just this kind of dichotomy of just people don't want to talk. And so I really, really appreciate that last statement that you made. And I'm hoping on people on the restream and people that are rewatching will take this to heart and understand that, you know, in different fields, in different careers in life, you got to have understanding to what people are going through. Because if you don't, you're never really appreciate. That's my key thing. Understanding to lead to appreciation. You don't have to agree with people. And every point that they have is not something that you have to go with, agree with, or side with. But you still want understanding. So once again, shout out to you, Krystal, Nurse Krystal. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you taking the time. I definitely don't want to impede on the rest of your day off because I really appreciate you coming. Finesse fam, thank you guys for being here. Make sure you share. Sharing is caring, guys. And this was a great stream. I really appreciate everyone being here, everybody that's supporting. Shout out to Krystal too. She's a channel member also, and shout out to her too for supporting the channel through Buy Me a Coffee, through all the different things that she does to help get the message going here. It is so much appreciated. BGH, shout out to you. Thank you so much for the support and the Cash App. Good conversation. Yeah, these are great conversations. I love having these conversations with you guys, with the family. And guys, make sure you support BGH. Shout out to them. They have a clothing and fashion accessory line. They have new arrivals. Oh, neat shirt. Says King Jesus on it. Nice shirt. I like that. So guys, check them out. I believe I'm going to add their information in the description. They're channel supporter. They've always been here supporting the channel, and they are a channel member too. So once again, Finesse fam, that is it. Everybody have a great day. Adios, au revoir. See you later.